Hello, friends. Thank you again for joining this collaboration between Tom and Danielle Thibodeau, or like I have come to really admire the work of Dad and Danny. Our topic today is that teaching and learning can be dangerous work. Teaching and learning can be dangerous work. In 1968, the Brazilian educator Paulo Freire wrote a groundbreaking book called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And in that work, he talked about the political nature of teaching and learning. When you teach people to read the word, you teach people to read the world. Education empowers people, gives them opportunities and possibilities that they would never have had. How important that is when we have the ability to engage in conversations and information is provided to us so that we can explore and expand our worlds. So Paulo Freire found a way, a methodology in which he was able to teach in 6 weeks Brazilian peasants how to read and write. And this was the process. He would go into a village and he would sit down with people and he would ask them generative questions, the questions that give people life. Well, where is it that people ask generative questions? Around their kitchen tables, around their places of work, around the places in which they would socialize and have a drink. And he would listen to those conversations that they talked about their lives, and they would talk about their work, and they would talk about their children and their health, and they would talk about the lack of clean water. They would talk about how important fishing was and how this year was not a good year. And he would listen to these generative questions, the questions that give people life. Isn't it an extraordinary time right now? In an era when Black Lives Matter, we are asking important questions about equity, equality, justice, reverence, reconciliation, generative questions about things that matter. You also would then bring along with him an artist. Why? Is that we've always understood the importance of images, the aesthetics. As you've watched the disruption in our country, the uprising that we've seen, we have also seen beautiful murals painted with chalk on walls, images that give hope and remind us as to what is significant in our lives. The importance of the artist has never been more important than it is today. And the artist would be with Paulo Freire and listen to the questions and what was important in people's lives. And then he would draw pictures and images. And underneath the pictures and images, they would put words. And people were able to put words to their images that reflected what was deepest in their lives. What were their longings? What was important to them? And then the question was, now what do we do? How do we move people into action? This really becomes important. Ideas have power. Ideas unite us. Issues divide us. So that in teaching, we listen to people's ideas, the generative questions that got meaning to their lives. We give those ideas images, pictures, poetry, music to be expressed so that it is heartfelt, and that heartfelt experience then is moved into some kind of meaningful action. In this way, the peasants of Brazil began to read and write and participate in a political system that previously had been denied to them. You would have thought that the Brazilian government would be so happy that the peasants could now participate fully, but it was a dictatorship, and so they jailed and deported Paulo Freire. He later goes on to become the director of education for the United Nations and brought his methodology across the world. Education leading people from darkness to light, from ignorance to knowledge, from confusion to clarity. Rewarding work, but sometimes can be risky. Be dangerous. Or like Camus said in his last lecture, his final lecture, the great French philosopher said, be sure to create dangerously. It's important. It's needed. It takes courage to teach. Thank you so much.